Hey, how you doing? Um, for the persuasive speech, I've chosen to talk about the legalization of marijuana. Um, I know that this is kind of a taboo topic. It's something that, for whatever reason, people feel uncomfortable talking about it. Now, one thing I want to stress first and foremost is I have never actually smoked pot. Nor do I have any real interest in smoking pot. However, after sort of happening upon the various pieces of information relating to the subject, eventually I started reading up on it and stuff, and I sort of came to my own conclusions. First of all, I'm gonna say that marijuana is not actually bad for the human body. There's really no hard medical evidence whatsoever to suggest that it is bad for the human body. In fact, in the documentary "What If Cannabis Cured Cancer," there's I don't know, like a medical professor from Harvard or something like that. He's given this big speech, and he actually at one point during the speech he says people who smoke marijuana statistically have less of a chance of having cancer than people who don't smoke at all. Now, I'm sure you remember back in the day, the government trying to tell us that, marijuana contains as much smoke or cancer-causing carcinogens as 6 cigarettes rolled into one. Now that's just a flat-out lie. That relates to the propaganda that the government has been perpetuating since I don't know, like the 20s, 30s or whatever, with reefer madness and all that sort of stuff, where they portrayed potheads as these vicious people trolling the streets looking for rape victims and so on and so forth. Obviously, it's way off balance with how people really use it today. Now, not only is it not really bad for you, it's actually clinically proven to kill cancer cells and to inhibit the growth of almost all known forms of cancer. Clinically proven. This is not merely conjecture at this point. You can actually see under electron microscopes cannabinoids killing cancer cells. Now this is a matter of medical fact. Okay. And the government has tried to act like this is something that's bad for us. And there's people, thousands upon thousands of people in the country at any one time that are incarcerated for non-violent marijuana-related offenses. Now, every year that one of these people is locked up, it costs. I think the figure is about $30,000 to keep one person in jail. Now, if there's only let's say there's 50,000 people, and Lord knows there's most likely quite a few more than that, and let all those people out of jail, and legalize marijuana, that's millions and millions of dollars that's injected back into the economy. Not to mention the new jobs that this burgeoning industry would create, to meet the demand of people who want to use marijuana. Now, it seems to me that alcohol and tobacco are perfectly legal, obviously, and they actually kill more people than every illicit drug put together. And they're perfectly legal. It's perfectly okay and socially acceptable to drive out to the bar with your buddies and have a bunch of drinks and then drive home at the end of the night, endangering your life and the lives of others. And with marijuana, there's actually studies to suggest that marijuana makes you a better driver. It's ridiculous that this substance that is absolutely harmless, is impossible to overdose on, and has never killed anybody since the dawn of time, is illegal, and alcohol and tobacco are perfectly acceptable and perfectly legal. Now that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Not only that, but you have to consider the amount of man hours and manpower in general that's being committed on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis to the apprehension of these so-called criminals who are using marijuana, whether it be for recreational use or medicinal use, is irrelevant to me, at least. These police officers are spending countless hours every year pursuing and apprehending these people for something that really shouldn't be illegal in the first place, because it doesn't harm yourself or anybody else in any way, shape, or form. So I can't really understand why it's illegal. You know, you legalize this substance, and under a legal regime, police would be able to focus more on rapists, thieves, murderers, arsonists, this type of stuff. People who are committing real crimes, as opposed to a couple of teenagers in the woods smoking pot out of a pop can. Now, I'm certainly not advocating teenage drug use, obviously, but certainly it's a far cry less harmful than somebody who's killed somebody, or a bank robber, or one of these crooks on Wall Street or something like that. These people get off scot free, and people are spending years of their lives behind bars, simply for ingesting cannabis, and this is absolutely absurd to me. And you also have to consider, so all this money goes back into the economy. The cops are taking care of real criminals. Um, um, there's billions of dollars back into the economy. Um, and it's something that could potentially be good for the United States, or the rest of the world, for that matter. You go overseas, go to Amsterdam, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and it's perfectly acceptable, to smoke a joint in a cafe, or whatever they call them over there, and they've actually, in parts of Europe, they've actually closed prisons because they didn't have criminals to put in them anymore. Now, I wish that would happen in the United States. Everybody knows our prisons are grossly overpopulated, and full to the brim, and are really a drain on the economy, and the taxpayers' dollars. And with marijuana legalized, none of this would be a problem. None of this would be a problem. And it just seems to me that ultimately, if marijuana were to be legalized, the potential benefits are just, insane. Not only is this a harmless, non-addictive, all-natural substance that, kills cancer cells, and cancer patients can use it to get their appetite back and cure the nausea associated with chemotherapy or radiation treatment. This should be permitted by law, as responsible adults. If it's okay for us to, ingest alcohol, it should be perfectly acceptable for us to ingest marijuana. They call this the land of the free. Well, in some ways it's not so free. And it's difficult to look at America like that. But when you consider all these facts that I've said, it's hard not to come to the same conclusions that I've come to. And I think after watching this speech, you'll come to the same conclusions as well. Thank you so much.